Well, who knew place branding was going to be quite so complex and demand so much thinking space? I had absolutely no idea until I met Malcolm, and Malcolm and I worked on a project together. And I learned quite a bit from his perspective, because I have a slightly different perspective, therefore somewhere in the middle there should be a good common ground. For me, place branding is very much about identity. It's about the richness of the experience, and it's about the memory that you take from that. Now, earlier on, Malcolm referred to telling the story and then setting the vision. I embrace that very particularly, because the examples that I'm going to give you very much are based on that. I have no answers about place branding in relation to these 5 locations, apart from they all require place branding, but they all require a very different approach, and I'm not quite sure how you would tackle any of it. This is, of course, Blackpool. We were involved in the regeneration scheme quite some years ago now. Interestingly, that Blackpool was very much seen in days gone by as taking the cure. Taking the cure was to go and have a dip in the sea, cleanse yourself. It was a wonderful, invigorating experience. Although, interestingly, the name comes from Spen Dyke, which is a dike that goes through the peat bog, delivering dirty black water into the sea, and therefore Blackpool is the origin of the name, conducive to taking the cure. Telling the story, the origin of a place, and then setting the vision for regeneration, and how do you then capture that and translate that into the brand. The place brand, is it about the history? You know, the first leisure destination in the UK, is that the story, is that the brand? Or is it all about the big regeneration scheme to put Blackpool back on the map? Who knows? The comedy carpet that you see there, by the way, is every single catchphrase from every comedian that has ever appeared in the tower, and is obviously meant to be seen from the tower as you look down. Maybe that's part of the essence for the new branding, maybe it isn't, who knows? Battersea, again, an interesting one, because once upon a time Battersea was all about industrial pollution. You know, what was something through need. It was the iconic edifice of a building, which once upon a time probably nobody thought twice about. It was there purely functional, serving a purpose, and now it is the wonderful scheme that it is. But surrounded by poor housing, ill health, pollution and so on, whereas now I've been lucky enough to be in one of the show homes, or show flats rather, show apartment in fact, and everything starts with millions. It is absolutely incredible. A complete turnaround. So what is the branding of that? Does it focus to do with the building? Does it focus to do with the history of the site and the place, which will be part of the challenging exercise to come? Or is it all about the celebration of the glory of regeneration and restoration and investment? Who knows? Grimsby and Cleethorpes. It was an unfortunate coined term, I think. We worked together on this for a while now. Grimsby and Cleethorpes, for all intents and purposes, are one in the same, but if you said that in that territory, I think you'd come in for a bit of bother. In local areas, it is sort of associated, or the fond terms are Meggy and Skeggy. Meggy refers to Grimsby Cleethorpes, because Grimsby is the town, which of course was established on the fishing industry. Cleethorpes being the local leisure resort, coastal sort of seaside area. Skeggy is actually Skegness, but the two of them are resorts that are complementary. I'm not sure the term Meggy and Skeggy is particularly useful for place branding, but nonetheless, that is how it is known. We are engaged at the moment to look at a huge amount of redevelopment there to try and bring these two sort of, well, regional areas, I suppose, back into life. But again, place branding, who knows? We're close, aren't we? We're getting there. Bit of a journey, this. Dunstable. Again, this is particularly interesting because we're looking at a number of Bedfordshire towns at the moment, which is very much about how do you attract investment and massive investment in town centres to reinvigorate maybe historic market towns that have lost their way, that maybe aren't performing as well as they should do. If they're not on the map already, how do you encourage multi-million pound investment in order to create something special in this place? Especially when its origins are the boundary post of a super thief called Dunseath. So, you know, again, are you telling the story about the history of the place and the historic market town? Is that attractive? Is that going to bring inward investment? Or do you have to set a vision for something a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more creative? How do you get to that story? And then finally, Doha, Qatar. We will all have a completely different view, I'm sure, on how we associate Qatar at the moment, and maybe what that place branding is. Is it all about the World Cup? Is it all about controversy? Is it all about investment, skyline, and so on and so on? Who knows? The origins, very, very humble. Doha means big tree, the cedar tree. It's a fishing village of very, very humble origins, and now it is, well, you all know what it is. It's a completely different place. How do you capture the place branding for that? Actually, what is the story for Doha? If we all have a different perception of it, then what is that branding? Does that mean that there is no branding, the branding doesn't work, or what? Who knows?